to London. We've got Richard Moir here, the Vice President of the London Chamber of Commerce. I'm just wondering about what you say, well, I suppose what Ross said a moment or two ago, and how the London Chamber of Commerce builds on that. What role is London playing to foster economic growth and technological advancement in East Africa? And if you want, you can also build into that answer the importance of the Commonwealth in helping to strengthen economic ties in sectors like finance and insurance.
I need a microphone. Thank you. Well, I appreciate the question, but I'm going to widen it even more, because I was told by the organizers we can speak from the heart. London doesn't know it all. London has to learn too, so I see all this is a two-way street. We've had a history in Africa. It's not always been good. Brexit hasn't helped. Commonwealth, well, that could be UK's salvation, but it might also be too late because there's more and more Commonwealth countries looking to become republics. But leaving that message aside, I'd like us to think about education. Because just imagine business schools in Africa. There aren't enough of them. Any research that's done on behalf of international business is usually done on a top-down basis from America, from Canada, from the UK. And so the perception we tend to have of business and trade with Africa is written from the wrong point of view, if you ask me. And what I make a plea for today is that we encourage greater research that actually emanates from Africa and gives a completely, well, I would argue, will give a completely different perspective on how trade should be conducted. That's the first point. Then secondly, if we look ahead, remember, well, you probably don't, but the Economist wrote an article in 2000 described, am I talking or are you? Right, so okay. So it went from the hopeless continent to now the hopeful continent. And actually, I'd argue it's gone beyond hope now to something far more realistic and positive. And that's really why we're here today. And I think today is a good example of that. Now, to come back to the point about London, if we look at, for example, the role of insurance. Insurance, as you would all know, I presume, is a risk transfer mechanism. Without insurance, you can't trade. And if you look at the history of trade in Africa, most of that was backed by Lloyd's of London underwriters, and they put certain countries and certain sectors of business on the map because they were insurable. And therefore, insurance is a trade facilitator, and London clearly leads in various classes and also new classes of risk, particularly if we're talking about electronic transfer of funds and digitization in general. And I would encourage countries represented here to increasingly develop their own indigenous insurance capability, particularly with the use of captive insurance. And most people don't really know about captives, but I do know a little bit. And I would actively encourage you to consider self-insurance as a way of facilitating business. And if we go into banking now, well, bankers are a bit like Marmite. Sometimes you like it, sometimes you don't, or you don't like them at all, but we all need them because money does make the world go round, for better or for worse. And we have a trade facilitating bank here today who are active sponsors, and I can vouch for them, because without those documents that they offer, trade doesn't happen either, but it has to go hand in hand with insurance. So I think I've said enough for the minute. Thank you.
Richard, thank you very much.